Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're back with another Google Analytics Q&A session with Annielytics. And today we're going to be talking about several things. We're going to be talking about event tracking, campaign tagging, filtering, explaining bounce rates, entrance and exit pages, and importing Google Analytics data into Google Sheets. So it's going to be a really full Hangout for the pre-submitted questions. But please keep in mind during the Hangout, if you have any questions at any time, there is a Q&A area where you can ask questions. So it says Q&A, it's a little blue chat, and you just have to be logged into a Google account at all, and then you can ask questions there. You can also ask questions on Twitter, and we're going to be following the hashtag GA Hangout, or you could just tweet at me, Tori Cushing, or at Annie Cushing, and we will be keeping track of those too. There's another option too. There's a chat room. If you're just joining in as a viewer, you could also, we'll be monitoring the chat room too, so if you have any questions during the Hangout. To join as a moderator, we're going to be sharing this special link where you can hop in and it'll show your little icon, either your face if you have your webcam turned on, or just your icon for your Google account. And that way we can chat. If you have any questions live at the end, we can go ahead and chat about that too. So we'll be sharing that over Twitter. And the last thing is that this is going to be recorded and posted afterwards in a recap. So you'll be able to get access to that. Just keep an eye out on the Annielytics YouTube channel. And we usually post that within like 24 hours. If you have any wonderings what's going on with any future Annielytics On Air Hangouts, you can go to annielytics.com/annielyticsonair. I would say the last thing is Annie will be sharing links to, using the Showcase app. So when you're watching this Hangout, there's a little Showcase app, and it has like 3 tags that you would see maybe on clothing, like 3 yellow tags. And she shares a bunch of links and resources, but those will also be provided in the recap. So without further ado, let's get started.
All right, thanks, Tori.
You're welcome.
I love how you take care of all the details. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. It's just watching my talking head is not going to be that useful. Okay, so we had a bunch of questions submitted this time, which was great. Last time we actually had to cancel it because I think we just had one question, which we'll be starting off with. But as Tori mentioned, really submitting the questions ahead of time just kind of gives us a structure and gives us an idea of how much interest there is in the Hangout. Plus, it gives me an opportunity to, like, if the question gets pretty complicated, which some of them do, to do research, or as I needed to with one of the questions about Tag Manager, which I'm not a Tag Manager expert by any means, gave me the opportunity to reach out to really brilliant friends of mine on Twitter, and they were able to give lots of really good feedback. But that said, at the end, if we have time, if anyone has a question that they want to submit through the Q&A or ask live, that's always an option. Okay, so someone asked how much lag time can be prevented by using Google Tag Manager for tracking. Can you suggest a source where a non-techie digital marketer like me can learn to implement and bug fix GTM? So I can't really speak to like specific data on the lag time that Google Tag Manager resolves. Depending on the number of tags that you're running, like if you are a publisher, I would say it is a no-brainer. Whether you're using Google Tag Manager or a paid tag manager, you should definitely be using a tag manager just because you have so many tags, and that can really generate quite a bit of lag that Tag Manager can resolve. On my site, I use Tag Manager. I doubt that it actually saves me a lot of lag time. That said, excuse me, a really great resource that I like for beginners to Google Tag Manager is this one from iPullRank. they pulled together a really nice tag manager guide. And it's just easy to read. It's written really well. It's organized supremely well. I'm very, very impressed with this. So I am going to share a link to this, and Tori will let me know if I do it wrong. Okay, so Tori, do I have to click this show item?
Yeah, it's a little bit silly, but you have to click that.
Yeah, because I would definitely share something that I wouldn't want people to see.
Good job, Google.
This is why Google doesn't get invited to birthday parties. All right. So, and then also, I'm a huge fan of lynda.com. If you want a paid resource, I actually forgot to check if lynda.com offers a course in Tag Manager. Tori, maybe you can look that up. I'm sure that they do, because now it's been out for a few years. The thing I like about lynda.com is that it's very soup to nuts, and they have courses that are specifically for beginners. So if you're really beginner and the whole concept is intimidating, I just really like how the lynda.com trainers start at the very beginning and then take you by the hand and walk you through. So if Tori can find a link to that, then I'll go ahead and share that as well. Or you can use Google and just search lynda.com for Tag Manager, or go to lynda.com. Lynda has a Y instead of an I, because Lynda's parents were very edgy. Okay, question number 2. I can't figure out a way to import product names from AdWords campaigns into GA or a Data Studio dashboard. Is there a way to clean up campaign names, or even better, labels, into either GA or Data Studio? Okay, so I'm assuming this is still referencing product names. Well, I think it's actually 2 questions. So one thing to clear up, product names aren't imported through AdWords. They're 2 separate things. So I can't pull up an AdWords report in Google Analytics because I'm not currently running AdWords, and I can't share clients' data. But you would use the e-commerce report, preferably enhanced e-commerce. Excuse me, that was a new option with Universal that it just gives you more bang for your buck. But the product names come in through your e-commerce connection, and then you can then from there filter and just look at your AdWords e-commerce data. And I created a custom report to enable you to do that. So let me go ahead and copy and paste this in. And Tori, did the last one share okay? The last link I shared?
Yeah, it came through great for me.
Okay, great.
If anyone's having problems with that, go ahead and throw that in the chat or the Q&A.
Okay. All right, so with this custom report, let me see if I left it open. I think I might have shared it here. Okay, AdWords product report. So I don't have data, but I'll just show you under the hood what I did. So I took all of the metrics from your from the typical product report. And so everything in blue is a metric, green are dimensions. So for my drill down, I just have product, but then I have a filter in place, excuse me, to be able to filter out everything except AdWords traffic. And I did that by just saying include default channel grouping, paid search, and just in case you're running other paid search, like with Bing or someone else, then I also said only include traffic where the source equals Google. Now, if you don't have auto tagging in place and you're tagging manually and you're using something funky for your source, like you put in google.com or something like that, you'll just want to go in, edit, and put in exactly whatever you use. I mean, there are multiple ways you could go about this, but basically you just need a filter in place so that when you look at this report, you're only looking at product details from your AdWords campaigns. Okay. And someone got a BOGO deal. And this is actually my second question. How could I, oh wait, there was already a second question. Did I get that? Is there a way to clean up campaign names or even better labels into GA or Data Studio? So that is actually a pretty serious issue. It's one of the reasons that I like the product Analytics Canvas, because Analytics Canvas uses the Google Analytics API and allows you to do cleanup using very Excel-esque functions. But they have a lot of functions that Excel should have and would have if Microsoft employed a marketer to weigh in on new functions in Excel, because there are some really glaring omissions in even the most current version of Excel, which is supremely disappointing. But Analytics Canvas has a lot of those. Most API tools do not give you the ability to rename campaign names. What you would actually have to do if you wanted to do it like moving forward is customize your default channel. Well, no, even that's not going to help you. That would only help if your campaign mediums are jacked up and you wanted them included either in standard channels or custom channels. So Google Analytics doesn't offer anything. And like I said, most of the API, like dashboard tools, do not allow you to do any real cleanup. Now, I have heard that, Tori, what was the free tool that you did a video on? I always forget what it's called.
Yeah, that was Analytics Edge.
Yeah, Analytics Edge. So there may be some customization opportunities with Analytics Edge. And Tori did a video walkthrough for our dashboard course users. But Tori, if you send me a link to that video, we haven't turned it into a blog post yet, but Tori did. I haven't read it yet. And hit the approve button. But Tori, if you could send me the YouTube link, I'll go ahead and share that because it might have that ability. I'm just not sure.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So how could I output the time interval between either two events or one event and the end of a session in GA by using Google Tag Manager? Okay. So I threw that question out on Twitter and tagged a few of the guys who I know are just genius with Tag Manager. And I am just going to, I asked this question and just had a screenshot to it, and several guys weighed in. So knock yourself out. Just share this.
I just messaged you the link to the video too.
Okay, great. All right, just 1 second, too much open. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second while I grab that. Okay, so here is, I'm going to drop in the link that Tori got for lynda.com. Now, the last link I share, okay, I forgot to show item for the Twitter link.
Okay. Joe Savage, actually, he he commented on a Q&A saying that he's done some GTM training with Enor Analytics. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. E-capital-N-O-R.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. So
oh, okay.
Do they have a course?
Yeah, he said it was decent, but it costs $signs. So just
Usually do. The
yeah.
nice thing about lynda.com, and they probably wouldn't appreciate me sharing this, but when I've wanted to take a course with lynda.com, what I've typically done, I think it's like $20 a month. It used to be 25. I think the price came down, which usually isn't a good sign, but they're awesome. But typically what I'll do is I'll just sign up for a month and be like, okay, I have a month to finish this course. And then cancel. It's still, it's hard to beat $20, $25. Okay, so let me share my screen again. It's our family chat. It shares all kinds of crazy things, and I didn't want that on the interwebs. Okay. All right, next up. All right, this is, I've used your spreadsheet to create report URLs for SEMrush and Google Analytics. Is it possible to query the data from Analytics and bring actual metrics into Google Sheets? We're doing some cool Google Sheets integrations with websites and would love to start doing. Yes. Okay. All right. Yes, it is. So you have a couple of options. Tori, I think I'm missing. Did I not? Okay, I must not have shared it here. Let's see here. So you have a couple options. Google has a plugin, and I had gotten it, and apparently, I don't know, like it didn't save or something. There's a Google Analytics spreadsheet add-on. I'm going to go ahead and share it, and then share my opinion on it. It's free, so we'll start with that. So it's kind of hard to beat free unless using something costs you more in time than free isn't free. So I have used this in the past. Now, full disclosure, I haven't used it in probably at least a couple years. So they might have improved it. But one of the things that I didn't like about that plugin when I used it was for every query that you pulled in, it created a new sheet. So if you're building out a dashboard and you have 25 queries, then that's 25 different sheets that you have to manage where your raw data lives. And I just found that really messy. I really like to have like all of my raw data in one sheet. Like even in my dashboard course, the method that I teach is pull all of your raw data into one sheet, do all of your calculations in another sheet, and then have your sexy visualizations in another sheet. And I'm really, really big on labeling everything, following a logical pattern, because invariably with these dashboards or anything that you build out like this, it gets passed on to someone else. And if there's not a guide and a logical flow to your dashboard, it's going to be very, very difficult. Not even for someone else to follow, but sometimes even for you to go back and like if you have to make some kind of customization, trying to figure out where all of your queries are and what the filters are and all of that can become a red hot mess. Because then I also have another sheet where I list where all of the data pools are and what they are. So there's very little room for confusion. So when you have a plugin that puts every single query in a different sheet, that just kind of blows that to crap. So I don't know if it still does that. I I tried one query and I couldn't even get the query to run. So, and I didn't have time to really play with it. But it did take up the whole sheet. So I don't know. Someone else may be able to weigh in on that. There was another paid solution that I worked with. And shoot, I had it up. And now I forget what it is. Oh, Supermetrics. So Supermetrics has a product, excuse me, specifically for Google Sheets. It is a paid product. It is very inexpensive. So this is my preference personally. I mean, I think it was something like, I don't know, $20 a month. And it works with a few different tools. Okay, I just shared that. So yeah, there are a few questions. And then someone else not too long ago asked me to plug a tool that they were working on for Google Sheets, but I haven't tested it. So I generally don't like to plug things that I haven't had a chance to really test. Okay. But with any Google Sheet that I offer publicly, I mean, if you want to add, you know, Google Analytics data or any other API data, I mean, all you have to do is create a copy of the workbook, and then you can add in whatever you want. Okay, so how would you filter out internal website traffic if you couldn't use the IP address? Lunametrics did a blog post on this, which is really good. So there's no sense reinventing the wheel. They offer a number of solutions. My favorite solution is probably, I think it was the last, not begging and groveling, the opt-out extension. So, and Simo Ahaba, he was one of the guys who also weighed in on the tag manager question. He's a brilliant tag manager and a brilliant developer. Okay, whoops. Let's see here. What else do we have? I'm unsure on a good way to structure the naming convention for Google Analytics events on my site. I want to track what files are downloaded. I seem to either have too many variables, category, action, label, or too few. I read that if two actions have the same name, e.g. download or PDF, then that only counts as one unique event. Is that right? Okay, so there's quite a bit in this question. With event tracking, there are a few things to keep in mind. You have three main variables: category, action, and label. The category, you want to be a broad general category. So one of the biggest mistake that I see in analytics audits that I do pertaining to event tracking is oftentimes these are just all used interchangeably. You know, something that really should be an action is used as a category. Labels are used as categories. That's a very common issue. So, but I'm really, really big on structure because you want to be able to slice and dice your data. And if you're just using them all interchangeably, then when you go to run your reports, you have to look at each individual label kind of separately. And it's not easy to compare things, and it just gets really jumbled up. And typically what will happen is whoever set up the event tracking will pay attention to the event data for maybe a few weeks. Then that person stops checking it. You know, years later, you guys are still running events on your site, and no one is even looking in that ghost town of a Google Analytics report area. So So if you're actually using the data, what I recommend is the category should be a broad category. And I have several recommendations. I created this event tracking tool, which I'll go ahead and share this. This is a free tool. And I have, oops, I have one tab for Universal and a tab for Classic. And the way that this tool works is you put in your category, action, and label. And this uses a crazy function to pull everything together. And then you just copy, so Command or Control C, and come in here, paste special, and paste values only. Because if you just try to copy this and send it to your developer, it's just they're just functions. So you can use this tool. Don't request access. Just make a copy of it. In fact, I have a filter set up in my email that I don't even get those share requests. But you can see here in the categories, first of all, I provide some advice if you hover over. Now, for some reason, if you create a copy of a Google Doc, the comments don't copy over, which I don't understand why. So I also included some instructions here. But if before you create the copy, you can check out some of the comments with like just different tips that I've given you. But the category, you can see here, I have some examples to get you started. Form, ad, navigation, video. These are different types, so that's why you'll see some duplication here. Some people might have PDF. I would probably include that as a download, but you know, it's up to you. But you just want to make it like a broad enough category that makes sense. And then the action, you want to think in terms of verb. So you can see I have submit, click, play, download, subscribe. You know, if it's a video, it might be play or view. I've also seen view. And then the label should be something that describes what that event is. Now, what you don't want to do, well, let me back up a little bit. So you see here, there are mixed cases. I'm personally a big fan of lowercasing everything. So I actually have included in the formula here that it will force everything to lowercase. If you don't want that, then just remove this lower here from the formula. So you would just remove this and this parenthesis here, and then this one here. But I personally would rather have everything lowercase. So the other thing that I was going to say with this is that one other big mistake that I see is people taking the URL that the event takes place on and pulling that into the label. You don't want to do that because you can already get that information from Google Analytics. So I'll show you how that works. I don't think I'm running events currently, so let me go back. Let me go back to a time when I did. I think they've just stopped reporting on my site, and I didn't have an event set up to alert. I mean, an alert set up to let me know that. So if I go to events, I really like using this filter here and go to top events. Hopefully I'll have some event data in here. I do. So you can see here are my categories. Someone else set this up for me. Oops, I would never have anything uppercase ever. Oops, what happened to my event report? Let me get back to it. So you can see here we have the category, and then we can click on the action and click on the label. Oh yeah, these are from plugins. But if I go back to the category, now I could do this with any of the options, action or label. I can apply a secondary dimension, or ideally I could create a custom report and just pull in the page dimension. Here it is. And you'll see the pages that that event fired on. So that lets you know that Google is tracking that automatically. So if you're pulling in the page URL or URI, more likely for most of us, then that's just a duplication of effort. So I went through all that just to make the point that your event labels should be intuitive. They should be they shouldn't be super long, but they should be clear enough that you know what it is. What is the event that's firing? So, okay. Let me see if I answered his question. Okay, I think that did it. Yeah, so just remember with the actions to use action verbs. So don't just put anything in the action. Oh, and if you have two events with the same action, it's still going to register as unique events as long as something else is different. So even if you had, let's say, you click the download link to download, and someone clicked the download link to download a PDF, and they click it on one page, and then for whatever reason they click the same link. Let's say everything else is the same. The label, the action, the category is all the same, but it's on a different page. Then it's still going to register as a unique event. The only way it's not going to be unique is if they literally triggered the same event on the same page more than once. So if they, hit the play button in a video, we're not talking YouTube video, they hit the play button on a video multiple times. Okay. All right, next up. Okay, I think, oh yeah, this one had probably, all right, 2 parts. I have a marketing campaign that is for driving registrations for an event. Now, this is an actual event that people come to, not event tracking event. Our company also has a weekly newsletter. For my event campaign, I would place a link in my weekly newsletter to drive traffic to the event webpage. Would I tag that link in my newsletter with the campaign tag of my event campaign or with the campaign tag of my weekly newsletter? And he gives examples. What do I use for the campaign tag for the rest of my inbound links in my weekly newsletter? Should all the links in my weekly newsletter be tagged to a specific campaign and blah, blah, blah. So, and do I need a campaign tag for my weekly newsletter? So, okay, so this is my opinion on your campaign tagging strategy. Now, I mean, ultimately, it's up to you. What I would do is I would have a campaign tag for that, or a campaign tag with a unique campaign for that particular newsletter, and I would use the newsletter, not the event campaign. The reason for that is that ultimately, when you look at who signed up for that event, you want to see where they came from. So obviously you're going to be running campaigns and multiple sources, but when it comes to traffic from your newsletter, you want to know that your newsletter drove signups for this event. So personally, that's what I would do. If you want to use an extra tag, then you could, or parameter, then you could always use the content parameter, and you could put extra details about the campaign in there. But personally, that's what I would do. And if there's anyone listening to this who doesn't know what I'm talking about with campaign tagging, I wrote a really comprehensive guide, the definitive guide to campaign tagging, which I will share. Oh, looks like my Google Doc didn't get added. Error adding website link. Okay, I'll come back to that one. And show the item. Okay, let me reshare the event tracking. I'll create a bit.ly link, and maybe that will throw Google off. Yeah, it's not allowing me to share this link for some reason. Tori, is there another option to putting the link out there?
Yeah, I would maybe just put it in the chat.
Okay, could you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second to send this to you. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why Google's not allowing me to share a Google Sheet. So makes total sense. Okay. I love your tutorial on concatenating links in Google Sheets for reporting. I think this is very similar. Did I already answer this question? My question is, how can I query the data from GA? Yeah, I already answered this one. Oh, yeah, and here's where I had it. So, yeah, the free and supermetrics.
Yeah, it looks like you got two very similar questions.
Okay. All right, I need to find out if my users are leaving the site altogether or just leaving that page and going to another. For those that stayed on the page, where can I see where they went from here? I've gone to behavior, site content, all pages, used the advanced filter to exact match the page I'm questioning. Is this a good report? Also, what is bounce rate versus exit? Okay. So a few things. We're going to go to the behavior report, all pages. And, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just leave it with that. So Google Analytics has this option. I think I addressed this in another Hangout. It is not a well-known option, and in part because it's really kind of tucked away. There used to be a report in what used to be Google Webmaster Tools that was very similar. It's like tucked away. It was tucked away in this obscure tab, and no one really noticed that it was there, and GA has the same thing. So I'll show you what it is and how to use it. But the way that it works is, first, what you want to do is go into your All Pages report and click on any page where you want to see what page visitors looked at before they hit this page, and also what pages they looked at after. And so you see here, here I'm just looking at my resources page, and obviously this page was created last year around this time. But if you go to this navigation summary tab, I absolutely love this tab for when you really want to do really specific investigation about your content. So here you can see here my current selection is resources. Now I could change the page even from here to another page if I want. But what this is showing me is that we're focused on the resources page, and that's indicated by this icon here. And about roughly 15% of people for this time period actually landed on the page. The rest, so by far the vast majority of people who hit my resources page are going to it from other pages. So about 85% are coming to the page from previous pages. So they're landing on another page and then clicking through to my resources page at some point in the session. Then, as I mentioned, this represents the resources page. And then this here shows me what percentage of visitors for this time period that I've selected exit my site altogether, and what percent click through to other pages. So for those who come from previous pages, if I just scroll down a little bit here, from those who come from previous pages, most commonly the home page is the previous page. So 37% of page views were from the home page, then my about page, then my services page, then my hundreds of tools for marketers page, and so on and so forth. Now, if we go over here, this next page path, anytime you see the word path in Google Analytics, it's just think of it as geek speak for a URL. And so this next page, you can see that most commonly from my resources page, people click on the hundreds of tools for marketers, because that's a free resource that I have, and it is literally hundreds of tools that marketers use and the tasks that they solve. So, and then from there, in close second, very close second, people click on my services page, and then my site audit checklist, which is a paid resource, then the blog, then the homepage, et cetera, et cetera. So you can even filter by a particular page, like if a page that you're looking for isn't in the top 10 here, or however many this is, probably 10, you can actually search for it and see what percentage of people click through to that page. And likewise, you could put a different page here. So you can see that this report here can be very, very useful for doing research at the page level. And there is one other alternative. Since someone else asked about entrances, we'll get to that in a minute. But if you go to the landing pages report, we get a little bit of a variation on the navigation summary. So if you go to all pages, you'll see navigation summary. If you go to landing pages, you'll see entrance paths. Because if you think about it, it makes sense. If it's a landing page, then there aren't going to be any previous pages because someone actually came to the site by landing on that page. So this is just like the navigation summary report, except without that first column, because it doesn't have previous pages. But it does let you know of your landing pages here. So this is pulling up, this is the home page. I could, search this from anywhere. So I could look at my campaign tagging guide and look to see, okay, so when people land on my campaign tagging guide, which is this massive guide that explains campaign tagging in very simple language, by far the majority of people from there click on campaign tagging again. And then from there, they go to the channel groupings guide. Now, it makes sense that there wouldn't be as many here or in the channel groupings guide, because I published this months after the campaign tagging guide. I published this and then add a link to the campaign tagging guide. So that's the difference in those two reports. As far as the question about bounce rates, so bounce rate refers to Avinash Kaushik refers to it as they came, they puked, they left. So it's just a session where there's only one interaction. So they click on a particular page and they either don't look at another page or they don't do anything to trigger an event on that page, and then that registers as a bounce. Now, one thing to keep in mind, bounce rate isn't necessarily a bad thing. So like with my site is a blog. So blogs are going to have very high bounce rates. People come in because I share a blog post on Twitter. They come, they read the blog post, or they might spend 45 minutes reading my campaign tagging guide and watching the YouTube video and stuff. But then if they don't click through to another page, and then that's going to register as a bounce. Now, you can trigger an event when someone has stayed on the page for more than a minute, or if they've scrolled down the page at least halfway, anything like that. So you know, anything that you do to trigger an event will then bring down your bounce rate. So I could do that. I just don't care. But I actually, okay, this is just my personal opinion. Personally, I don't think that bounce rate should even be included in the all pages report. The reason is that it's not, it's basically saying when this URL was an entrance page or as a landing page, it had this percent bounce rate. So I think it's better I think it's more intuitive to look at the landing page report, because obviously if it bounces, it's just going to be a landing page. So I think that I think it's unnecessarily confusing to include it in the all pages report. The percent exit is just how many people, or what percentage, what percent exits do you get from that page? So if you have a page, now again, with a blog, it's going to be very common and understandable to have high exits even from blog posts, and that's usually is a result of social traffic. So social traffic tends to be a lot more ADD than traffic from like organic or something. Because they're in a different mindset, you know, they're usually playing and they might pull up the page, you know, save it to some kind of, you know, read it later app like Pocket, and then leave. And I do the same thing. So the percent exit, this is a problem if you're looking at like your money pages. So if you have like content groupings set up, like I have a content group just for my money pages. And if I have an exit, a high exit or percent exit on my money pages, now that I'm concerned about and I'll look into. Okay, so we're getting much longer hangouts the longer we go. Is there somewhere to find the entrance page? I found it. It's called your landing pages report. So these are all
something is bumping the microphone.
Oop.
Like kind of muting it a little bit. So I just wanted to make you.
Oh, okay.
So we just missed that last part.
Okay. Thanks, honey. So yeah, so the entrance pages to get, all right, let me review the question. Is there somewhere to find the entrance pages? Yes, the landing pages report in Google Analytics. So just go behavior, site content, landing pages, or start to type in landing pages in your filter. And these are your entrance pages. Okay, so do we have any live questions?
So far, the Q&A is pretty clear, other than excuse me, Joe's tip that he offered. We did have a question from somebody named Laura, but she wasn't able to get into the Q&A, so I sent her the tutorial and a screenshot, but she hasn't gotten back to me yet. So
did she just have to log in to submit a
Yeah, it might have just been that she needed to log in. It also could have been when you're just viewing, there's a little three dot kind of icon that has it's like 9 dots and it's like three across, three down, I think. And where you can switch your view from showcase to Q&A. And so you can switch back and forth there, which it's in the tutorial.
Okay.
But yeah, so I also, again, Twitter, chatting, messaging me on Google Plus. So there are a bunch of options. I just think that she wasn't able to get in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Freaking Google. I mean, the Hangouts are great, but a little complicated. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't have any other questions, then we can wrap up early.
Sweet. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will announce in the next couple of days when the next Hangout will be, and make sure you send us your questions.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.